Imagine a scenario where one of the world's largest economies is hit with a hefty 50% tariff, just as its leadership emphasizes self-reliance and domestic growth. Sounds like a recipe for economic disruption. That's exactly what's happening with India, now feeling the heat from increased tariffs imposed by the United States, shortly after Washington also targeted Russian oil and weapon imports with an additional 25% tax. This development places India among the most heavily tariffed nations by the US, threatening to slow down exports and hamper the rapid economic gains that have made India the fifth largest economy globally. This aggressive tariff move has prompted Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government into immediate action. Earlier this month, Modi promised to ease the pain by reducing taxes and urged Indians to embrace the mantra of self-reliance, an idea he actively promoted during Independence Day celebrations at Delhi's Red Fort. Donning a vibrant saffron turban and addressing large crowds, Modi encouraged small business owners and shopkeepers to display signs of Swadeshi or Made in India, reinforcing a sense of national pride and economic independence. He argued that independence should stem from pride, not desperation, highlighting the growing trend of economic nationalism worldwide. Modi's speeches repeatedly emphasize the need for India to rise above external economic pressures, encouraging citizens and entrepreneurs to support domestic production and consumption. Yet, this message comes amidst a tough economic backdrop, where manufacturing's share of GDP has stagnated around 15%, despite years of government incentives and subsidies. To counteract the impact of tariffs and support economic revival, the Indian government is exploring significant tax reforms. One of the key strategies involves revising India's Goods and Services Tax, GST, which was introduced 8 years ago as a simplified tax system meant to unify numerous indirect taxes. However, many experts argue that the GST has become overly complicated due to numerous thresholds and exemptions, making compliance difficult for businesses. Now, Modi's administration has announced plans for a simplified two-tier GST system, a move that, coupled with upcoming income tax cuts expected from April 2025, could serve as a substantial boost to consumer spending. Analysts from Jefferies, a major US-based brokerage, anticipate that these reforms will inject roughly $20 billion into the economy by spurring consumption. As nearly 60% of India's GDP is driven by private consumption, strengthening household spending is a strategic focus. While rural spending has remained resilient thanks to a good harvest, urban demand has slowed in key sectors such as IT and manufacturing, impacted by lower wages and employment cuts post-pandemic. The hope is that these fiscal measures will revive spending momentum across sectors like automotive, including scooters and small cars, clothing, and building materials like cement, especially during festival seasons like Diwali. Most economic experts believe that the revenue shortfall from lower GST rates will likely be offset by higher tax collection through surcharges and increased dividends from the Reserve Bank of India. Interestingly, these tax cuts could also pave the way for further reductions in interest rates, encouraging borrowing and investment. Already, the Reserve Bank has reduced rates by 1% in recent months, a move that could be strengthened by improved fiscal conditions. Meanwhile, stock markets have responded positively, viewing these reforms as a sign of confidence in India's economic outlook. Even more encouraging is the recent upgrade of India's sovereign credit rating by SP Global, an uncommon boost after nearly 2 decades, potentially lowering borrowing costs and attracting foreign investors. However, the bigger picture remains complicated. India's growth has slowed from an impressive 8% a few years ago. And geopolitical tensions with the US are escalating. Disagreements over energy imports from Russia and stalled trade negotiations deepen uncertainty, while the 50% tariffs act more like a trade sanction than a policy measure, casting a shadow over the vibrant economic relationship between these two giants. And so the question remains, does India's push for self-reliance genuinely counteract the blow from tariffs? Or is it merely a rallying cry in the face of mounting external pressures? Many would say the real challenge lies in balancing nationalism with global integration. What's your take? Can India truly thrive under such protective policies? Or are these tariffs just a temporary shield in a complex geopolitical battlefield? Share your thoughts below.